Well, welcome to another North Wales side-by-side video. In this video, I've just popped down to a friend's. He blew the clutch in his GasGas ec300. And all I'm going to do tonight is fit his new clutch pack. He's had it soaking for about a week in oil, so I'm just going to bang it back in for him. And job's a good one. Now what I'm doing here is taking out the frictions on the metal that we've had soaking in oil for just over a week. Right, let's stack you some plates. And the way you stack these is you start with the friction, then the metal, and you just carry on stacking them until you've filled the basket up and rebuilt your clutch pack.
Which side do you put in the plates? Have you been feeding the steel plates?
Yeah, sharp in. I've only put one in.
So what is the clutch going on? Which bit's the clutch?
Those plates.
There's the camera running. There's the camera running.
Oh, it's here. Training purposes.
Yep.
Be gentle now. Don't force it now.
I just got to get it to line up right. Awesome, they just fall in.
Quite tight, aren't
They are tight. Yeah. There's always a happy spot on them.
How many friction plates? Oh, do you know what I was going to do?
Go on.
I was going to clean the bottom of that fucking basket. See the little fucking shitty oil is at the bottom.
Alright.
I went to fucking spray that out.
Don't worry about it. Should have two of these left now.
Oh, there's a fair few of it in Spanish, yeah.
I would love that.
Tell me thought.
That's the last metal one.
Is it friction plate last?
The one last friction. And that's the whole pack in.
Good.
That's it. That's the pack in.
Be handy to fucking dip that shaft. That shaft's got to go in, isn't it?
Oh, did you take it out?
Yeah.
I said leave it in.
It's alright, there's no bearing in it. That's, and then that top hat there goes on the end of the shaft, isn't it? So I need to, that could be the dunk can in there as well, can't we? John's gloves?
I'm just getting a clean pair of them soaked in oil after
There's stones back this one.
put the plates in.
Yeah.
I'll just take the brakes off.
Biggie's bike.
I'll just take the brakes off.
What's with the brakes?
Touch his brakes.
So you just getting out what you went then?
Yeah, Steph, uses that.
What's that there? That's just fully charged now.
Steph, that's just hit my foot.
Yeah.
Uses that. Nothing worse than using one of them. Those are the one you use most as well.
So what are you doing?
Toolbox, isn't it? Yeah, I'm empty.
Which way out did this come, Steph?
It only fit on one
Oh,
way,
it goes on
but wait
that
there,
way. Yeah,
it
it's
needs
all right. I'm going to oil it. I'm going to dip it in that.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm going to lubricate the push rod that goes through to the clutch hydraulic flow cylinder. I'm going to hydraulic the plunger device that goes on the end of the rod that pushes on the pressure plate, which I'm going to fit in a few minutes.
What oil did you dip that in?
It's the oil that's going in the engine. Well, not that particular oil, but the same type. Well, once they've got covered in oil and they're all slippy, I can't grip. Right, pressure plate next.
Stop, pull everything we need. Those to fill cars.
Well, you've done a nice job cleaning that, Stefan.
Does that need oil?
Now I'm going to
There's plenty of oil
put
on
the
that
pressure
plate.
plate over the clutch pack. It goes over the 6 pegs. Right. And that pushes up against the... Let's treat it
push
to some
rod I
new
put in
springs, shall we?
and the plunger,
Which separates the clutch when you pull your clutch cable. Or your clutch hydraulics on this particular bike.
By about a coil.
Now I'm checking the old springs against the new springs.
That's the old ones.
1 to check them for length, 2 to check the number of coils, to find out that the old springs were about a coil shorter in overall length.
Got everything in here.
But when you counted the coils, they were the same, so they had weakened considerably over the 6 years of the life of the bike. Initially, I'm just going to put 2 springs, 2 bolts.
Hold the bike so I can push this spring.
I'm now fighting with the pressure on the clutch springs, so I've just asked Stefan to hold the bike whilst I squash the springs up. As you can see, I'm doing 2 opposites here. So I'm just going to start them by hand, just so we don't cross thread them.
That's one.
And then I'm just going to nip them up in a minute, just so they bottom out and no more.
Taking nicely, or is it getting cross-threaded?
I'm just double checking them. Well, that one's gone in quite nicely.
That one's in. Gone in nice. You need to push
These particular ones are wound in with a 5mm
They're a hell of
Allen
a
key.
tight against the springs.
So to save a bit of time, I'm just going to get my 3/8
bolt,
impact gun out and just wind them in.
Oh, that's a nice that. That's just 2 of them are going in. I thought you were supposed to do them up evenly as you go along.
I'm just going to go a little bit at a time and take this pressure upon the springs.
Can you get torque wrenches nowadays that tell you what thing it goes to?
Digital ones?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
tension.
There's no rush on this bit,
certain ones around the
because you can warp that plate, so it's just little bit,
That one's bottomed. That one's
until they
bottomed.
bottom out.
Pull the clutch. Well, there was only 2 in there. Let's make sure it's separated.
Now I'm just going to get Stefan to
That's
pull
working.
the clutch and just make sure it actually operates before we commit to the rest of the springs and the bolts.
I need a new fucking set of tyres on it. I'm going to buy a what's it called?
How much are they?
Stefan's pulled the clutch for me. I've
that
seen
cheaper
the
than what
pressure
about?
plate move, so I'm just going to carry on with the same process now. Spring, start the bolt by hand. And just wind them in slowly with the
two in now, it's pushed it up.
impact tool.
It's not gone further in than the others.
No, they're all going in the same way. All I've done is just bobbed them out. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Literally, that is it. Just bottom them out.
That is it.
Because they've got all that spring pressure on them, and that's a lot of spring pressure on these.
Fucking hell, yeah. A lot of spring pressure there.
What do those springs do in there?
They're the what actually make the clutch work.
Yeah.
That's
You
the
let go of the clutch.
that's the force.
That's what forces the pressure on the clutch.
Where's the gearbox on these? Inside there?
In that bit of the casting in there.
Do we do these by hand now?
I'll do them with the torque wrench after. In the moment I'm just taking them up for that just to stop.
Yeah.
Literally all it's felt is donk, and that's it. It stops putting any more pressure on. So as it feels it bottoming out, this thing stops.
Okay, talking after.
And I'll put £7 on them after. You worry about using power tools, don't you? On things like this. Don't need to anymore. They're so sophisticated. All started. They're easy once you've got all the others in. That's it. Pull your clutch again, please, Steph. I want to make sure that separates. Yeah, that separates.
Where's that thing?
Did you have a look at the torque sign?
5.
Is that meter full?
No, this is pounds foot. Now I'm just setting up my little torque wrench, which goes up to about 7 foot-pounds, and I'm just going to run through every single bolt and just torque them up. And this one doesn't click. It's got a funny ratchet mechanism in it.
This one.
And when it reaches torque,
If you didn't use something like that, you just over time
it just releases.
Would you?
Yeah. How do you know when that's done? Does it click? Or?
No, it springs back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's on a ratchet mechanism in there. So you just got to you just feel it just go back and release the pressure. Right, one more time.
So are there any of them over tight, or did they all?
No, they've all taken just a tad more.
They all.
Yeah, there you go.
Did they, yeah?
Pull the clutch. That's as far as you can go.
Awesome, fair play.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Good that, yeah.
Wow, isn't it?
I haven't seen any like that advertised.
You won't find one of them. That's come from Pilkington's. That's a military one.
Yeah. Military grade, aye.
That's calibrated that as well.
Yeah.
Every train's got his special tools in it. Yeah, definitely. The missus asked, I've been helping you with the bike. And a key component tonight. This will be down in about 15 minutes.
Oh yeah.
That's it, I'm afraid, Steph.
Is that all we can do?
That's all we can do until we've got the gasket.
What else do you need to do to it if you had the gasket?
I ordered the wrong fucking gasket, didn't I? But
Oh,
Yeah, this cover's
surprised.
got to go back on.
got the right cover?
That's the right cover, and we need the gasket for there.
It might be a stupid question to you lot, but what exactly is the gasket in there?
The gasket,
Yeah.
it sits on this edge, yeah.
Or is it just like a seal sort
It's
of thing?
just to seal the engine up like that, yeah. Just sits on there.
Yeah, that'd be useful to
I'm
know.
leaving that on there, Steph, so no dirt gets in. Okay. Two of these are massive, long. That one. That was the other long one. Reach. Anyway. I don't know why they don't use an O-ring on this, you know.
yeah. An O-ring was
Yeah.
fine, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
How much different is it to work on this bike compared to that GSXR?
The principles are all the same.
Is it like still the sort of same
Yeah.
principle with everything?
Yeah. Right, that's only on there to stop any dirt getting in stuff. No other reason.
Very, very cool.
When the gasket comes, just whip them bolts out. Put your gasket on. What I do this time, when you put it back on, silicone on one side, a very thin bead of silicone on one side, stick the gasket on here, and a very thin bead of grease on there. Reason being is if this needs to come off again, the gasket won't stick to the casting, so you'll be able to reuse the gasket a second time.
Have you got a certain silicone when you're working on bikes?